So let's continue with looking at the rest of the male reproductive parts. We've talked about the testes, we've talked about the epididymis, we've talked about the vas deferens. This would be basically where we'll have that inguinal canal. And you can see the canal will pass past the bladder. There's going to be a seminal vesicle, and then eventually there's going to be a prostate. You can see it's kind of big. You can't really feel it unless you put your finger through the anus to sort of feel if it's expanded. And eventually that's the last thing that we'll see before we'll go through the urethra. Sperm is actually made up of a couple of different components. So what happens at the seminal vesicle, remember this is where the vas deferens comes through, is we're going to go ahead and add a couple of things. We're going to add fructose, and fructose is just the sugar that the sperm can use to propel itself from point A to point B. Sperm, like I said in my last video, has to travel the basic difference between LA to New York City, and that's going to take a lot of energy. So granted, of course, that's not as far as sperm will go, but if we were to go ahead and take its distance and expand it, that's where it would be. The next thing it's going to make is this thing called fibrogen. And what that's going to do is it's going to make the semen sort of thick and sticky. And it's designed so when sperm does hit the female, by making it thick and sticky, it's going to make it so it doesn't leak out. If it was just a watery sort of substance, it would leak out and it'd be impossible to get somebody pregnant. And then finally, the next thing it's going to make is this prostaglandins. And this is going to stimulate females to sort of contract. And that's going to make, we'll actually see this when we learn more about the uterus and the back of the vagina, but it'll make it so it'll contract, and it's designed to almost take a gulp of that semen and bring it up into the uterus. And we'll talk about that soon. The prostate gland is also going to make this thing called fibrolysin. Lysin means breakdown, right? And fibro means fibers. So what happens is it liquefies the fibrogen in semen within about 30 minutes of the ejaculant. And it's done this because if it's really a thick, sticky substance, it could potentially just stay there for. But to make the fibrolysin, it'll start to break it down after 30 minutes because the good viable sperm has actually already swum away. And by making it sort of this liquid, it's so the female can sort of take care of it and sort of get rid of it. And then we make this chemical called spermine, and it's basically designed to keep the ideal pH for sperm, which is going to be 7.2 to 7.6. And then finally, the bulbourethral gland is going to make that pre-ejaculant. It's designed to clean the urethra of any urine, and it's also designed to help with a little bit of that pH. There's going to be a little spermine in there, and it's going to help with pH. It's also designed to help lubricate the tract for the male and even for the inside of the vagina for the female. And then to finish off the penis, we can go ahead and look at the glands from the side, but the things you really can't see unless you do a cross section is going to be, we have the corpus spongiosum and corpus cavernosa. So these two big purple ones are going to be the corpus cavernosa. At the bottom is going to be the corpus spongiosa, and this is where the ureter and semen will actually come out. They're designed, so the corpus spongiosum and cavernosa are designed that when when the male penis gets excited, blood will rush into the penis, and it'll be sort of, we can kind of tether it and make it so the blood stays in the penis until the ejaculant is released, and that's when the penis should go back to its normal flaccid state. The only difference is here is that blood is being trapped in the penis, and that gives it its erectness. And then, of course, after ejaculation, the penis, all that blood drains out of the penis and goes back into the body. Typically, if males are starting to have issues with keeping their penis erect, there could be a couple of things going on. One, it could just be stress, and that will cause people to not have or hold an erection. But if they can't hold an erection for a constant amount of time, and stress or diet isn't an issue, then that is one of the things that we'll go ahead and get a pill for, Viagra, or some sort of knockoff of it. And that is also an indication to the doctor that there might be some heart issues, because anytime you have issues moving blood around, getting things going from where blood needs to go, that's usually a sign of maybe clogging or some artery issues, and that should be something that if you ever have somebody come in for this, you should think about that. So let's talk about puberty in males, and then we'll talk about what circumcisions are, and then we'll start females. Reproduction starts out because males hit a certain age, then they're going to start to produce hormones. The hormones that they're going to produce are from the pituitary gland, and they're going to be those gonadotropins, and those are going to be FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, which is luteinizing hormone. And they begin the sexual development. What you're going to see when those are released is they're going to go to the gonadal regions, which are the testes, which are going to stimulate testosterone to be made, and testosterone is going to lead to things like facial hair, pubic hair, chest hair, a deeper voice because the larynx gets a little larger, the thyroid cartilage gets a little bigger, and that's going to lead to that Adam's apple, broader shoulders. These are all designed to sort of start the process of before puberty to after puberty. A circumcision is basically where that foreskin before the penis is cut, and it sort of exposes the glandus of the penis. There's a lot of controversy with this. Some people say it's to heighten the female experience or the male experience. Some say it's for hygiene. There's really not great information here. We do know that when you cut the foreskin off, there's less likely to some skin irritants and some infections, or cutting it off will lead you to not have those skin irritations and infections. But it's still sort of up in the air. The majority of the planet doesn't do circumcisions, so well, there we go. Other things you can do for male reproductive health is to check the prostate, and the only way you can do that is to stick your finger in the rectum and feel to see if the prostate seems bigger or hard. If it feels bigger or hard, we have to go in and do some x-rays and some other tests, and you have to do it kind of with a digit to sort of feel. If it's bouncy, it's going to be good. If it's sort of hard and maybe even protruded, it's going to be difficult. If it becomes too late that the prostate gland is a little larger, a couple of things will happen. Number one, males might complain about defecation issues, or they might, which is going to be more likely, is going to be this next one, they'll say that their urine stream went from really strong, because keep in mind, if this is swelled, this tube will shrink too, to go from really strong to kind of a dribble, and that's another sign that there might be an issue with the prostate.